Ladies and gentlemen of Steelers Nation, what a wild day at Saint Vincent College. Training camp just delivered one of its most dramatic and revealing sessions yet, and we've got everything you need to know. From Aaron Rodgers and Roman Wilson absolutely dominating the field, to Jonnu Smith and rookie quarterback Will Howard going down with injuries, the energy at camp has shifted big time. If you thought this was going to be a quiet preseason, think again. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're part of the black and gold family, and let's talk about the biggest camp day yet. The day started off like any other at camp, with players jogging out onto the field under the Pennsylvania sun, stretching and getting loose for individual drills. But you could feel the buzz even before the first whistle. Aaron Rodgers walked out with that familiar swagger, visor down, and the offense lined up, ready to prove a point. For the last few weeks, this Steelers defense has been the talk of camp, swarming quarterbacks and shutting down receivers in the red zone. But today was all about the offense fighting back. During the famous 7 shots drill, where the offense gets 7 plays from the 2-yard line to score against the defense, Aaron Rodgers set the tone immediately. He took the first snap, dropped back, and delivered a laser to Jonnu Smith in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown. The crowd along the hill at Saint Vincent erupted, and even the defensive backs were caught shaking their heads. On the very next rep, Rodgers rolled out, scanned the field, and found rookie Roman Wilson cutting across the back line. He zipped the ball right between 2 defenders, and Wilson hauled it in for 6. That made it 2 straight scores for the offense, and suddenly the mood on the practice field shifted. After weeks of the defense dominating this drill, the offense was in full command. Rodgers didn't stop there. His chemistry with his new targets looked sharper every single day. He hit Pat Freiermuth twice during the 2-minute drill and showed that veteran mastery we've seen for nearly 2 decades in the league. It wasn't just the accuracy, it was the command. He was reading the defense like a book, adjusting protections, moving backs into the right spots, and delivering throws with timing that felt almost unfair. On one play, he lofted a deep ball down the sideline to DK Metcalf, who hauled it in over the defender like it was backyard football. On another, he connected with Jaylen Warren on a perfectly timed swing route that turned into a chain-moving first down. Even though the drive eventually ended on a tipped interception, you could sense that the offense is starting to click in a way that has eluded them in early practices. And let's talk more about Roman Wilson, because this kid is making noise. The rookie third-rounder out of Michigan has been a quiet presence so far, overshadowed by veteran names and the flashy moves of other receivers in camp. But today was his coming-out party. He looked fast, confident, and fearless going up against NFL-level defensive backs. On his touchdown grab in 7 shots, he ran a tight crossing route, slipped between 2 defenders, and extended for a diving catch that had fans on the hill buzzing. Later, Rodgers tested him deep on a go route against Nick Herbog, and Wilson created just enough separation to track the ball over his shoulder. He didn't score, but it was the kind of big play flash coaches want to see from a young receiver fighting for a roster role. Wilson's burst off the line and willingness to make contested catches are exactly what this offense needs behind DK Metcalf and George Pickens. With Calvin Austin III still nursing an injury, Wilson has a chance to steal some early reps and make his mark. The Steelers need depth in the receiver room, and today's performance put him firmly in the conversation. You could even see Rodgers talking to him after reps, giving him pointers and nods of approval. That's a big deal. When a future Hall of Famer is giving a rookie that kind of attention, it usually means he sees something special. But as electric as the offensive highlights were, the day wasn't without its setbacks. This energy took a dip when rookie quarterback Will Howard went down with an apparent hand injury. He was under center during a simple exchange, fumbled the snap, and immediately shook his throwing hand with a grimace. Trainers rushed over, and he eventually left the field for evaluation. For a young quarterback fighting for preseason reps, this is a brutal break. Howard needed every snap he could get to prove he deserves a spot behind Rodgers and Mason Rudolph, and now he's facing weeks on the sideline instead of game reps in August. Coaches didn't sound overly panicked afterward, but missing time at this stage of his development is far from ideal. Then, as if one injury wasn't enough, veteran tight end Jonnu Smith also left practice early. He appeared to tweak his knee after a routine route during team drills. He walked off under his own power, which is a good sign, but the trainers kept him on the sideline for the rest of the session. For a team counting on Smith to be a reliable red zone target and complement to Freiermuth, any time missed is concerning. The Steelers' tight end depth isn't paper thin, but Smith was brought in to be an impact player, and losing him for even a short stretch could slow the offensive rhythm that's just starting to build. And while all this was happening, the camp intensity boiled over in true training camp fashion. Jonnu Smith, before leaving with the knee issue, was involved in a couple of heated moments with safety Juan Thornhill. Twice in the same session, tempers flared. There was shoving, some helmet yanking, and a ball being spiked in frustration. Fans along the fence loved it, cheering like it was a playoff game, but you could see Mike Tomlin step in to calm the waters. Training camp fights are nothing new. They can actually be a sign that the competitive fire is alive and well, but they also serve as reminders that this team is feeling the pressure of expectation. What stood out most to me, watching all this unfold, is how Aaron Rodgers seems to be the steadying hand in the middle of it all. He's not just here to throw pretty passes, he's here to lead. Reports out of camp have painted a picture of Rodgers and Mike Tomlin developing a strong rapport, almost like a football bromance, and you can see it on the field. Rodgers talks to receivers after every series, adjusts plays on the fly, and encourages younger guys to shake off mistakes. For a team looking to end its playoff win drought, that kind of veteran presence can make all the difference. So, what does all of this mean for the Steelers moving forward? First, the offense is showing real signs of life. For weeks, the defense owned these drills. TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick have been terrorizing the first-team offense, but with Rodgers settling in, you can feel the confidence growing. If he continues to build chemistry with Metcalf, Freiermuth, Warren, and now Roman Wilson, this offense could be far more dynamic than many expected. Second, the young guys are starting to make their case. Roman Wilson's breakout today isn't a guarantee of stardom, but it's exactly the kind of day a rookie needs to earn trust from coaches and teammates. If he can stack a few more practices like this and maybe flash in preseason, he could carve out a meaningful role by week 1. Third, the injuries highlight the razor-thin margin in camp. Will Howard's absence likely forces the Steelers to consider adding another quarterback just to handle preseason snaps. Jonnu Smith's situation may be minor, but the team will have to monitor his workload. The last thing the Steelers can afford is a lingering injury to a key offensive weapon before the season even starts. And finally, the competitive fire of this roster is burning bright. Yes, there were scuffles. Yes, tempers flared, but this is the kind of camp that forges a team's identity. Rodgers' leadership and Tomlin's steady hand seem to have this locker room fully locked in. And even through the bumps and bruises, you can feel the belief growing. By the end of practice, as players walked off the field and fans lined the fences for autographs, you could sense the story of the day. The offense finally struck back. A rookie wideout made his mark. The team took some injury hits, and the competitive edge of this Steelers squad is razor sharp. This is how winning teams are built. Not in September, but right here in the grind of camp. So, Steelers Nation, that's the latest from a wild day at Saint Vincent. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's in midseason form. Roman Wilson is giving us reasons to get excited. The injuries are a concern but not devastating, and the fire in this team is undeniable. Drop a comment and let me know what excites you most. Is it Rodgers carving up the defense? Wilson flashing as a rookie? Or are you worried about the depth with these injuries stacking up? Smash that like button, subscribe to stay locked in on every camp update, and as always, here on Black and Gold Breakdown, we ride together. I'll see you in the next update, and until then, here we go, Steelers Nation.